Okay, you knew I was filming one of these from Conseco's, which is the greatest gas station in Vegas, and probably the country, and possibly the world. Today, absolute versus relative hand strength. So, some hands are very strong in absolute terms. A full house is a strong hand. A flush is a strong hand. Well, it matters a lot what your opponent has. There was a professor I had in grad school who at the time was playing a lot of poker, and he used to say something I disagreed with. He would say, big pot, big hand. Small pot, small hand. Like, if he only had a pair, he didn't want to build that big of a pot. And if he had a full house, he wanted to play all-ins every time. I disagree with that. I played a lot of all-ins with one pair. There was a day back in Milwaukee where I had like a 2K stack on the table, and towards the end of the night, someone asked me how I got it. Like, did I just cooler everyone, boat versus boat? And once I started thinking about all the all-ins I played, one of them was a bit of a cooler. It was full house versus flush. Every other one, I had a pair. I think there were 6 other all-ins that day. Each one, I had a pair, the other guy had a worse pair. I was confident in my read that he had a worse pair, and I thought he was willing to get all in, so we got all in, and I won. And that happened 6 times that night. There are times you might not want to get all in with a flush or a boat. There was a hand in 2016 or 17 in Aria. I had a small full house. I had like 5s, and you know, there was a 5 on the board and like 2 kings or something like that. I had 5s full of kings. It was a full house, but it was a small one, and I got 3-bet on the river, which was rare. The guy bet, I raised, he re-raised. You don't see a lot of 3-bets on the river out here, and I thought for a while whether I could be good or not. I ended up not folding. He had the one full house that was worse than mine, so it was a good read that he was incredibly strong. It wasn't a bluff. He happened to have the one full house that was worse. There was like a 4 on the board, king, 5-4 something, and he had 4s full and I had 5s full. It was something like that. So there are times with full houses you don't want to get all in. I was worried that time about calling the river 3-bet. And there are 2 other aspects to this, absolute versus relative hand strength, I want to talk about. One is losing your stack. I think beginning players lose their stack a lot with a strong absolute hand, but it's not strong relative to what their opponent is playing. You know, small flushes. I mean, I've gotten all in with small flushes before. You could do it, but there are times you need to think about what your opponent will get all in with also. If your opponent's only going to get all in with, you know, the full houses and the stronger flushes, it's not a great idea to get all in with this, you know, 6-high flush you had playing 6-5 of hearts. Also, going for value. I think a lot of beginning players miss value when they don't understand relative hand strength. So if you have a full house, say the board is like king, jack, 6-5, and you have king, jack. What could your opponent possibly have? Like, you want to get all in, you can't possibly lose, but what could your opponent possibly have that he can call an all in? There's only 1 king left in the deck. Yeah, he could have 5s full, he could have 6s full. I mean, the likely hand your opponent's gonna have is like some kind of 2 pair, 1 pair being the kings on board. He'll have a jack in his hand, queen, jack. He might have like pocket 9, something like that. Those hands aren't gonna go broke on that board. So you would like to bet big, but your opponent just can't possibly be too strong too often. So in situations like that, I'm just betting what I think my opponent will call, even if it's only 25 on the river. Yes, I would love it. If they shove all in, I will call. I can't possibly lose. But I'm figuring a lot of the time they have something like 9s or 10s, given the way they play it, you know, pretty timidly the entire time is what I'm thinking about in my head. And, you know, on king, jack, 6-5, pocket 9s is not going to call an all in. You can get some value out of it. They're not just going to snap fold to any single bet, but you need to be cognizant of that. And these are the ways that I think beginning poker players lose out on some money and lose some money off their stacks by not understanding absolute versus relative hand strength.
Yeah, I got it at the stadium.